Up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Phil John's VIP. I want to say thank you for joining me tonight and every Saturday night. It's been a pleasure, man. I'm so glad we are on season 3. This is episode 2 of season 3, and tonight I have a guest coming on who has been around for a long time. Some of you may remember him from all of basically Tyler Perry's musicals, and he is now here doing it really, really big and just giving us all that he has. He started his career early on, like in the 80s, a long, long, long time ago, making appearances on Ryan's Hope and also on the Cosby Show, which many of you remember him busting that commission tune. But now Maurice is here to talk about what's happening in his life now, see what's coming down the pipe in the future, and now he's with us now. So we want to get this party started so we don't have to be pressed for time. So without further ado, we're bringing on my brother Maurice Lauchner. Here he goes. Let's see. Go live. Let's happening. It's been a long time coming for this interview, man. So hopefully it'll be all good, all love. What up, brother
Yo,
Maurice?
what's good, man?
How you doing, my brother? Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you getting time. I know it's been a minute since we actually had a time to coordinate to get this together.
Yeah, man. It's my
Stop
pleasure.
and go for a while.
My pleasure, man. How you feeling, brother?
I'm good. Today is a good day. I can't complain, man. I'm just so happy to have you on to
Awesome.
just talk about some things that you got going on now.
Yeah.
And, talk about where it all began for you.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm ready for it, man. Shoot.
All right, here we go. So most of people know you from and I say this, mostly all the Tyler Perry stuff. You've been in a few. But for those who don't know, where did it all begin for you as far as your artistic journey?
In the house. Growing up, man, I come from a musical family. My grandmother sings, my mother sings. Grandfather opened my ears up to jazz music. My father sings. And it began in the house, man. And there was a community choir that my grandmother and my mom used to sing with, like next door. Actually, it was a family group, but they extended it to the community, to their good friends and everything. So it was called the McCain Gospel Singers. So that was the name of the family. And they would have rehearsal in the living room. And so that's where they would take me over, or I would go, because they had kids my age. We would go over there. We were all friends, so we were neighbors. We lived like 100 feet from each other. And
Now, is it Brooklyn or Queens?
This was in Queens.
Okay.
This was in Queens, and so it was over there, and just sitting there listening. I mean, they had guitars and everything in the living room. The living room was no bigger than, it wasn't big at all. And so I would go there as a little kid, man, and just sit there and listen to them jam. I mean, they would be rocking. They'd be hot in there, sweating.
I'm sure.
And they're singing. Sure. So a lot of, that gave me, a lot of foundation as far as singing and stuff. So I got excited about it because, my great-grandmother and my family noticed my musical ability at a young age. They said I was whistling at like the age of 3, like
Wow.
whistling in tune.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, because if you can whistle in tune, you can definitely sing in tune. So they nicknamed me Man, because they was like, he ain't nothing but a little man, walking around whistling and carrying on at that age. So that's what they named me. So all in the neighborhood, everybody knew me as Man. Some people didn't even know my name was Maurice for a long time. So it all started at home. But then, my mom and I, because my mom had me young, really young, we moved out to Brooklyn. And when we moved to Brooklyn, I was living in Crown Heights first, and then I moved to Bed-Stuy. I went to junior high school 35, right around the corner from Boys and Girls High School. It was crazy. Got robbed a couple of times from the high school kids. Had a couple of fights.
That's pre-gentrified Brooklyn.
Right.
Not the old Brooklyn, not the new Brooklyn.
Right.
Not the Brooklyn with the doggy parks.
No, man. Nah, it was it so I mean, I started learning how to play the trumpet in junior high school. I was in the band and I had started getting really, really good. And I thought I was really good until I went to audition at Performing Arts High School and I didn't make it.
How many times did you audition for performing arts?
So I auditioned for Performing Arts first. And I didn't make it for the trumpet. And then nobody, my band teacher, nobody knew that I could sing in junior high school. Nobody. So I went to music and art and I auditioned. And of course, I made it. I made it in the school. So what they used to do in junior high school was post the high schools that the graduating class was going to. Mm-hmm. So my name was on the board, Maurice Lauchner, the only one specialized high school, music and art. And they were like, what? It's like, so my band teacher comes up to me. He was like, oh man, he hugged me. He was like, congratulations. He was like, man, you made it to music and art. He said, wow. And I was like, Mr. Wedlaw, I didn't make it for the trumpet. I made it for singing. He was like, what? He's like, you sing? So he was tripping out, man. He was tripping out, So I was just like, yeah. I said, I made it for singing. He was like, oh my God. He says, man, I never knew you could sing. And so that's where all of, a lot of that, teaching and training started for me. You know what I'm saying? It was a great experience being in a school where they trained you to become a professional. Mm-hmm. You were taught, I was classically trained. You were taught to sing in different languages. I had the opportunity of doing some big musicals, follies, and it was really funny how I was, you got a kid coming from church, and now you're teaching them how to sing classical music and read music, and
people don't, a lot of people don't understand when you go into, like, when you grow up in church, everything is by ear. You learn how to play by ear. You sing by listening. It's not until you go into school do you start learning how to read and write music.
Right. Yeah, and it's a great thing, and it's something that you really have to keep up and keep sharp, because it's easy to kind of get numb with and dull with some of those things, but the great thing is that you don't realize it. In ninth grade, 10th grade, you're in there, you're learning stuff and everything, but when you're getting into that 11th and 12th grade, and it's like, okay, this what we're teaching you is this is going to provide work for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of life lessons, you know what I mean? I've been in classes where people were so afraid, because I want to say that I had one of the best but the hardest vocal teachers there, and I never forget her. Her name was Miss X. She was about 4'11". She couldn't sing.
Her real name was Miss X?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss X, gotcha.
She couldn't sing a lick, but she taught singers.
Wow.
She could teach you how to sing, but she couldn't sing at all.
She had the ear.
She had the ear, man, and she was so hard on singers because she knew what beautiful music was like. I mean, and she was so hard on singers, bro. It was so bad for some people, because I remember her saying stuff. She would say stuff that would cut you like a knife. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, a knife and an axe. I mean, she was something else. This one, because how we would be tested would be whatever song that was taught for that month, whether it was in Italian, German, whatever it was, that was your test for the semester.
Wow.
And so if you got up there, because it was a performance, you're in the performance school. You teach, you learn the song, and you perform the song, and they grade you on the song. It didn't matter how many times you showed up. You know, you could show up and you can't do the work. Then it's like, what are you there for? So this woman, she had a young, everybody's standing up, guys. All it would be like a one group one day, and then there's another group the next day. So we all have to sit there and listen and be the audience for these people. And there was one young lady, I remember her singing. She was very nervous, and you could hear it all in her voice. Overall, a decent singer. But when she got up, this lady intimidated people so bad that when she got up to sing, the girl's voice was shaking and da 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 da. She was like, she let her go through the whole song. And she said, just like this. She said, how did you get into this school? On a raffle? She said, you had better marry a rich man because you'll never make it in this business. Never. Sit down.
Crazy.
I was like,
that's crazy. So was the girl traumatized, or what happened after that?
Dude, she was, man, she just sat down and just put her head down. I mean, what are you going to do? What can you do? If somebody tells you, how did you get into the school on a raffle? That right there would have torn my chest up already.
Yeah.
And then tell her she better marry somebody rich because she'll never make it as a singer.
That's
crazy. And that's what you're in the school for? I'm like, oh man. But
crazy.
A rap. She was cold. She was cold, man. But if you went and you did your job, she would praise you like nobody's business.
Yeah. And
you had to be prepared.
I'm just curious now. So what brought her to that level of telling that student that?
It wasn't a level. That's who she was. I mean, I've seen kids run out of the classroom crying.
Yeah.
And so I would automatically ask one girl, she came flying out of the classroom. I said, you got Miss X, don't you? She's like, how'd you know? I was like, oh man, yo. She was like, how did you know? I was like, you running out the classroom crying.
How did you push through that? How did you push through that class?
Being prepared, learning what I needed to learn. I was in the gospel chorus too, and she would always tell me, she was like, Maurice, she said, that was wonderful. She said, but stop singing that gospel. It'll ruin your voice. And I was like, I'm going to sing gospel all my life. I was like, I'm not going to stop sing classical.
Right.
But it was funny because we have a class, music history, Mr. Lurchman, I never forget it. And some of the guys who were in my music history class, and who was also with the chamber singers, and who was also in the production called Follies that they put on, because our school would put on big productions and stuff like that. And so there was a D over middle C that nobody in the class could hit. And so the guys who were in the class and who were in the production, they were in the musical comedy class, in the drama class. They was like, we know somebody who could hit the D. And he was like, who? He says, Maurice Lauchner. And he was like, Maurice Lauchner can hit the D? And they were like, yeah. He said, somebody find Maurice right now. Find him wherever he is. We'll go in his class and find Maurice wherever Maurice is, find him right now. And so I thought I was in trouble because I was horrible in music history, man. I was like, there's like, Maurice, what you do? Maurice. So they send a note. They have the note, and the teacher's like, she looks at the note, she looks over her glasses, she looks up, she says, Maurice, Mr. Lurchman wants you. I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. And so I go downstairs, and I was like, yes. And he was like, so understand, No, he says, come over here, Maurice. I want to see something here. And so he starts playing on the piano and doing scales. And then I went up and hit the D, and he was like, he says, Maurice, you're failing my class, don't you? So I was like, damn. He said, you're barely making it. He says, I have something I want you to do for me. And he said, you'll pass my class. And I was like, really? He was like, I want you to perform the opening song in Follies, Beautiful Girls. No one else in this class can hit that D, and you just hit it without a problem. He was like, I want you in the production, and I'll give you extra credit, and you will pass this class. And I said, all I got to do is sing the song, and I was like, okay, I'm down.
Somebody
Right?
just
So
my class, too much history to memorize.
I'm trying to tell you, man. So I go and we do like, I want to say we did 2 nights, 2 or 3 nights. And so at the end of the song, it's like, these beautiful girls, boom. And it's like all this music and the ladies are walking around. Everybody's doing all this choreography. Man, at the end of the show, Miss X comes running up to me. And she has to reach up because she's 4'11". She's like, Maurice. She was like, Maurice, that was marvelous. 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 She said, but stop singing that gospel. You'll ruin your voice. Yeah, man. But I mean, those were some memorable moments for me, and being in that.
Did you ever learn how to read music?
Yes, I have. I mean, I still do now, but I haven't done it in so long, so I need a refresher. I mean, you never forget, but it's all about counting and knowing the numbers. Like when you got quarter notes and you're like 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So
I made the big mistake by taking music theory as a summer class in college, thinking that it would be an easy A.
No.
And ended up getting into the class and needing a tutor.
Oh yeah.
It was no joke, man.
Now I actually started.
Anybody can write music.
Oh please, man! I started taking a private lesson just to kind of get warmed up to it again, because you never know when you have to get in front of it again in this business. So you want to be able to do it. And
usually for musical theater people, I always know I've always known them to ask for like a monologue plus 16 bars or something. A monologue 16 bars. That's the audition.
Right. Hey, it's necessary, man. But I'm grateful again every time I think about just having that experience. Being there, because there are a list of actors, relevant actors and musicians and singers right now who came out of Music and Art High School, LaGuardia School of Music and the Performing Arts. Yeah. A lot, man. So many. Yeah, Jennifer Aniston, Seth Gilliam, Carl Payne from Martin. You know what I'm saying? There's so many. Tuffy. Myself, Tashina Arnold, Victor Cook, who was on Broadway for 3 or 4 years, Rosalind Brown, Anaya Day, who's one of the top house music artists in the world. If y'all heard that song, I'm horny, 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 that's Jiffy. You know what I'm saying? Roderick Dixon, who is a part of the Chicago Opera House. It's just so many amazing artists who've come through that school. You know what I'm saying? And even more. I mean, it's a lot. But I'm honored to be able to say that I was a part of that. That is a part of my legacy and my history. And then being able to have that moment, that foundation to push me into the professional world.
I was going to ask you that. How did you segue into television?
Because
I found that Ryan's Hope clip.
You did?
You didn't watch? You didn't see my promo?
I saw the promo, but I didn't see the clip.
You didn't slide left?
I did not. I did not slide left. You can play it on here?
I don't know if I can play it on here, but if you go to the promo and you slide,
Oh
I
man,
three clips to
with
prep.
me in it?
Because I was like, wait a minute, Maurice is coming on the show. I got to make sure I do him right. So I put 3 clips together. One of the Madea's Christmas, one of the Cosby Show joint, and then I got the Ryan Told clip in there where you went to shoot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I gotta make sure, I gotta see if I can see that, man. Yo,
Yeah.
that joint that I was, man, so what happened was, this is what happened. SAG went on a strike. Tashina Arnold was on the show
Mm.
as a character on the show. So when they went on strike, they gave the actors liberty to create. And so Tashina was like, well, why don't we write that I'm in a glee club in school and I'll invite some of my friends.
Right.
And so she was like, man, I got a job for you, Victor, Gina, and Anthony. So Anthony and Gina were both these Italian kids, and then it was me, Victor, and I. And so it was a great mixture, a little multicultural joint. So
Right.
we got
Right.
up there,
Right.
we learned some songs, and we were up in there singing Gladys Knight and the Pips and all this stuff, you know, because Tashina loves Gladys Knight. And so we were up there singing, what is that song? Midnight Train to Georgia, all 4 of us, and we were having a great time. And then what happened was they wrote me in as her best friend.
Right.
So while everyone else had the couple of episodes, I filmed like maybe 10 to 13 episodes. Never forget it. I was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah, man, they got you working with me today. They got you working with me next week. They got you working with me. I was like, wow, they still writing me in?
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Tashina lived like, and I've told the story before, but she lived like literally just a couple of blocks around the corner from me.
Really?
And yeah, in the South Side Queens.
Get out of here, man.
And I remember her getting Ryan's Hope. And you know how you see people, and that's the one thing about New York at that time, no matter where you lived, you always knew somebody because it was kind of a birth of something, a birth of new talent coming up at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And me being one of the younger ones, it was kind of like I knew I wanted to do it. So when I saw like Aaron Hall get Guy, and you know, Tashina on Ryan's Hope, and all these different people doing things, I mean, that was the kind of thing that made me. I even told this to Big Les. You know, the first time I met her back in the day is like when I would see other people doing it, I was like, yo, I can do that too. I got to do that. It's not that far of a reach for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just didn't know how hard it was. You know
oh yeah, it's no little cakewalk, brother. I mean, you really got to get down and dirty.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, if anybody told me that I would travel to the dark side coming through this industry.
Yeah, I mean, this industry, you definitely, you learn a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? You learn so much, and you got it helps you to create that thick skin that you need, because you can't even count on 1,000 hands how many auditions you've gone to and they didn't pick you.
Yeah.
You know, but the ones that you did get picked for was something great.
Yeah.
I always remember those. I don't remember the ones I didn't get picked.
Right.
I mean, there some of them that I really wanted, like what was that that show that movie that became really, really big. And I was like, I had 2 callbacks, bro. I had 2 callbacks for this movie. It was Lean on Me.
Ah, okay.
I had auditioned for the guy who got thrown, the guy who was selling drugs in the school.
Right.
And Mario Van Peebles, his father, I had auditioned for them like twice. And I was like, oh man, I'm close. This is my second callback. And so then they went with the other dude, you know. And I was just like, dang. And then how big that movie had become, you know, it was just like, it was crazy, man. It was absolutely crazy. So I was like tripping because that was one I remember that I didn't get. And I was just like, I was kind of upset because I had kept going back. And I'm like, dang, you
Right,
know,
right.
but it helps you down, you know, down the road that, you know, it helps you think realistically that all of the auditions that you go on, you're not going to book.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, it's so funny. You said I got a story real quick. Um, I had an audition. I'm gonna say this is back in '07, and Jessica Kelly. At that time, it was Hopkins, Smith, and Barton. I believe the casting office was,
Mm-hmm.
and I had got into reading. Jessica Kelly had called me to read for The Wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
The role of Big Chris. He was supposed to be like a bouncer, or whatever. So I
Mm-hmm.
go in and I'm reading, and the director's there, you know, the writer's there, and I read Big Chris, and he tells me like, because I was doing a lot of spoken word poetry at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, do some spoken word. So I end up doing the spoken word piece, and it's all political and all stuff like that. So it's like really political, and he starts laughing. He was like, okay. So when I went back, because I was working at a spot where called the Network, where there's a lot of actors that were working there because it was kind of like one of those pay to meet kind of things where you go and you take workshops with casting directors and agents and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I walk in and I was like, man, I had this audition for The Wrestler. And it was like, wow, The Wrestler. I said, yeah, because I knew that it was starring Mickey Rourke. I knew who that was. It was around the same time that they were auditioning for Precious.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it was called Push at that time. Same casting office. And I go back into the office and I'm just like, yeah, I did my, I'm cocky. Yo, I did my spoken word for this guy, and it was like I was like some dude named Darren Aronofsky, and they were what? I was like, who is Darren Aronofsky? I didn't get it, man. But the fact that I did that, you know what? I did get called back to do ADR work for him in
Okay.
Brooklyn, which was dope.
Wow. Wow.
It
That's
was
crazy.
crazy, 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 crazy. So, Cosby Show. People remember you from the Cosby Show. So, does it ever get tiring seeing that clip? Because I see it so many places.
No. No, it does not. That was I want to say one of the greatest opportunities in my career because it wasn't in the script. That randomly happened. Bill Cosby was, I mean, he wrote that, I mean, they wrote that piece, and the message, I guess it wasn't falling in place the way he wanted it to. And the crazy part is that he found out that I was, I mean, he knew that I could sing because of Felicia Rashad.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia Rashad just so happened to be on board of directors of a play that I was in, and I had just worked on the Cosby Show, one of the episodes, and she comes to the play the opening night, and she's like, "Oh," she's like, "That's Big Fella." She's like, "That's Maurice." She's like, "He can sing." Oh my God. So she didn't know because I would leave, rehearsal or taping or anything like that.
Right.
One week, and then the next week when I wasn't working, I'll be in rehearsals doing Black Nativity. And so I didn't know that she was on the board of directors of that play or anything like that. And so she comes back, she tells Bill Cosby, she's like, "Big Fella can sing. I mean, like, he can really sing." And
So that's
so,
what he called you, big fella?
well, that's what Bill Cosby called me when he met me. He was
Right,
like,
right.
"Big Fella." But my cast name was Herman, which I was so much better with Big Fella because Herman was, I was like, ugh. So I go, and she tells him the scene, the rehearsals and things, everything wasn't like flowing the way he wanted to. And he came to me on the side, like we did our first rehearsal. He was, because we were going to tape that night. And he says, "Hey, Maurice," he says, "I want you to sing on the show tonight." And I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, I want you to choose the song that you want to sing and tell production what the song's going to be." Just like that.
Wow.
He says, "And I think that this will," he says, he says, "I'll bring it all together." He said, "This is what's going to make this, it's going to bring everything together when you sing on the show." I was like, "Okay, thank you." That's how that whole thing went. Now, for me, it was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to sing on the show." Not knowing that it would set me up to be a legend, because I was the first person to sing contemporary gospel music on that show.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it was like, out of the blue. And so here we are almost 30 years later, or 30 years plus, because that was in 90, what, 92? 90, 92, 93, something like that.
I'm thinking 92.
Yeah, it was 92.
Yeah.
People still remember me from that clip.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Yo, man, this is crazy." And how I got the job was I had mentioned to my manager, I said, "Listen, I said, how come I never got an audition for the Cosby Show?" And she was like, "Maurice, well, nothing's really, nothing came up yet."
They all sing though.
Right. She's like, "Nothing's come across the desk yet for that,
Yeah.
And so.
But that was the only gig in town for a long time though. So I could nothing.
Yeah. And then, as soon as I asked, it was maybe, I want to say, not even a month later, she was like, "Maurice, guess what? I got you an audition for the Cosby Show." I was like, "Get out of here." And so, I went, man. I turned the corner. I went in there. I was so excited. And when I went in, I always would look and see who's the casting agency. It's Bill Moss, right? Go in. Soon as I walk in the door, Phil, he looks at me. He looks me up and down. He says, "You're the type we're looking for."
Wow.
He said, "We're going to work with you."
Wow.
I don't know what the other guys were outside for. I don't know what other role, they were looking. I don't know. I didn't even care at that point, because I was like, it was a prayer answered. I was like, "Thank you, Jesus." I was like, I'm about to be on the hit show, the number one show in America.
Right.
And so I saw my boys on there. Carl Payne, he went to school. Dondre,
Yeah.
they all went to school with me. Dondre, they all went to school with me. And I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm about to be on the show too? Oh, this is it." And who else is on there? My man, every time I forget his name. Terrence Howard. Yeah, Terrence Howard did an episode with me. And it was really funny, because we were really, we were cool. Because he was living in Brooklyn at one point. And he was like, man, he was really like, that actor's like, how should I portray this role? How should I do this? Da, da, da. And I was saying in my head, I was like, man, it's only 5 lines. So it's like, I don't know. I was like, in my head, I was like, it's not that much. To portray a role, it's like, I was like, "You're a cool kid at the school, man. Just say what you would say if you was in school." It's like, So in that, Terrence Howard was in that episode with me, man. And you see these guys go on and be great, But
a lot of great talent came through that show at the time.
Yeah, a lot of big opportunities, and that's what I love about, that's why I say it was one of my biggest opportunities, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to ask me. He could have known that I sang. He could have thought of something else, but I just believe that it was, it was that time. God gave me that great opportunity to sing in front of the whole world. And I will never forget it. I always mention Bill Cosby during Black History Month. I know everybody makes mistakes. People do things that are crazy, but I say like this: none of us, we may not have done all of the stuff that he was accused of.
Yeah.
But none of us would want our business posted all over the world. You know, it just so happens that whatever, you know, he was accused of, he spent his time in jail and all that stuff. But one of the people I would say who gave me one of my best opportunities was and is Bill Cosby. I still get paid from doing that work. I don't care if the check is $10, the residual, because it's been so many
don't
years.
Matter.
It's still, and that's the thing. That's the thing. It's the work that I've done, and I'm still getting paid for it. So
let's talk about the Tyler Perry shows.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did that start to happen for you?
That happened way down. Shoot, that happened. I mean, I worked with Tyler Perry, I want to say 5 years, in a 5-year span. So that happened in like 2011, 2010.
Okay. I was going to ask a question.
Go
I
ahead.
want you to ask a question, but I'm going to try to phrase this in a good way. Out of all the projects that you've done prior to that, because I know that you've done several stage productions before working with Tyler Perry.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the production that you've worked on that you found to be the most creative, most challenging for you creatively prior to that? Before we get to the Tyler Perry stuff, because I know that there are actors like if you're an actor, you've studied. There are some things that you worked on, published works that you've actually worked on. So, what has been the most challenging for you?
Well, I can't really say that they've been really, really challenging. I think one of them was very challenging for me because it caused me to have to move a lot, which was The Wiz. If you haven't taken any dancing classes or anything like that, you know, I mean, it was tough because even though I can move, I can comprehend all of those different things. It takes me a little bit longer. Also, the workshop of Jelly's Last Jam I was a part of. A lot of dancing. So much that I didn't make it to Broadway, but I did. I am a part of the creation of Jelly's Last Jam. So if Jelly's Last Jam is ever revived because I was a part of the creation of it, I will get a residual.
Right.
You know, but because I didn't move, I moved, but I didn't move well or fast enough to pick up all those combinations because they were doing a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff like that was in The Wiz too. If you notice, there was a lot of ensemble movement. And then I understudied The Lion. So I had to learn all of his stuff and also learn what was going on in the daggone background in the ensemble. So that was challenging for me. But once I get it, I get it. You know what I'm saying? It may take me a good week. But
right.
Once I get it, I get it. You know, but coming from that side of the theater, equity theater, legitimate theater, and then going into working with Tyler Perry, where you pretty much make up their rules. So you got one area where we call it.
Those of us who study theater can always pick that up.
Right. So you got one area that's actors equity. You know what that looks like. Everybody in there is polished. Everybody in there is, you know, professional, somewhat. I mean, and we're professional also, you know, working with Tyler Perry, but there's just like, it's almost like there's another set of rules. You know what I'm saying? Me having working with George Faison several times, that actors equity, you know, that professionalism, this is when you take your breaks. You know, ain't no such thing of, you know, people just saying, oh yeah, we're going to do this, da 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 da. You know, and not saying that it was willy-nilly.
Yeah,
but the business, some of the business is a lot different than what the business would be in actors equity versus such and such production. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little different in that sense. There's
Right.
no way that we, like Actors Equity, you're not doing a full production in 2 weeks. You're going to learn, you're going to spend a month or a month, 2 months, do everything, clean it up, do some runs, do some couple of dress rehearsals. You're going to make sure this thing is polished before you get it going on the road anywhere, before you even film it. Previews, all of that stuff you're going to do. On the other side, oh, we're going to learn this 2 weeks, we out on the road. Or we're going to learn this in 2 weeks, we're going to film it. It's going to DVD. And you be like, whoa. So, you know, it's a different, you know, space, different things, you know, different rules and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, but the experience was great. A lot of learning. I want to say one of the greatest things that people ask me about, you know, what is it like working with Tyler Perry? I mean, I definitely got my chops warmed back up. You know, I definitely was, you know, learning, being around different people. But one of the biggest takeaways for me are the relationships that I have today. I mean, I have so many wonderful brothers and sisters that I work with in that camp that I will always be able to call in my brothers and sisters. That's the camaraderie that we've had, you know, and the relationships and things that I walk away with. Obviously, I'm not a millionaire, you know, being on the platform, you know, but it was good work. You know, it was good work. The tours were great, you know, a great group of people.
You know, it's so funny. A lot of people, that's the misconception about the business, that, you know, people, you know, it's kind of like you got to love it. You
Yeah.
really got to love it. And
Yeah.
it's stop and it's go. And it's
Mm-hmm.
stop and it's go. You
Right.
know, in the moments when you've stopped is when you really have to start really kind of like honing your chops in and finding out other creative ways you can use your craft.
Exactly.
So I got my
Exactly.
5 questions I gotta ask that I ask
Go
everybody come on to
go
this.
for it.
All right. So, and take your time to answer this any way you want to. So, what do you know about the business now, opposed to what you thought you knew going in?
What I know about the business now, what I've learned, you know, there are genuinely some really, really amazing artists out there who are willing to teach, who are willing to share their knowledge with you, especially when you come in as a singer, you know, who acts. There are people who honestly care about people. And then there are other people who don't care about you at all. They care about themselves. You are part of a piece of a puzzle that they want to accomplish. And what you learn from that is to quit waiting for a phone call and start creating your own opportunities.
Absolutely.
Period.
What advice would you give your 19-year-old self?
Um, keep studying your craft. Be as sharp as you can be in your craft. Surround yourself around people who are willing to pour into you wisdom. And not be afraid of big doors. Not be afraid of big doors, because there are times where, and I say this, like, there are times where you can become fearful of big doors because you don't think that you're ready,
Mm, mm.
or you don't think your skill is at the point to where you can walk through those doors. But now that we see, there are people who are skillless that have walked through big doors.
Tell you about it. You can't be mad at it.
No, you can't. So where we were apprehensive, you know, nowadays the view and the viewers have changed. You know, there are things that people call acting that we would be like, that's not, what is, like really? You know, and they get paid a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Or we think they are, but they're becoming big, and they're learning how to monetize, you know, because we have social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not that they have so much skill, but, you know, they just become so big in the eyes of the community and of the people in society that they learn how to monetize. And if whatever platform they use, they become really big, then you can learn how to monetize it, and then you can get paid.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, you don't really, you could be just, you could be somebody with a dope body right now, and you learn how to monetize, and you shake it around a couple of times, and be real pretty face, and you get two, three,
That's
four,
10 stacks
a
easy.
hundred. Look, 150,000, 200, 1.5 million followers, and boom,
That's true.
just because you show your pretty face up there and you give them a tease, and then everybody's traveling to your thing, you learn how to monetize, you make money. And it don't take skill to do that. It just take you to have a nice body.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know, you preaching the gospel right now, man.
Nah.
Um, you truly are. What do you what do you want your legacy to be?
Um, I want to be remembered as that guy that comes into the room that that has such a presence that, you know, if people are down, you know, this guy just made me feel better. You know, by, you know, and of course my work and my family, my wife and my children. I want them to remember, you know, the love that their father had, and the love that people, the type of character that I have, to be magnetic to people because of what the persona of what I put off. You know, that love and that joy that I have in loving what I do. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? If someone says, hey, you know, Maurice Lauchner, man, they, you know, and I just had, it was crazy because I had some young men over here that I mentor, and they was like, every time we mentioned your name to somebody, they was like, oh my God, that guy is so cool. He's so humble. Oh my God, you know, what is he doing now? Like, you know, I want to meet him. That makes
Yeah.
me feel good within itself, because if I can if I can affect someone's life and have that type of influence on someone, you know, that's what I want people to say about me. He was a real man. He was a real dude. Like, real meaning not saying I'm fake, but like he was a real brother. Like, every time I seen him, he was always the same. You know, caring, loving, giving, and
And
talented.
not superficial, talented, not
Right.
superficial, you know, very, 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 you know, like your boy. You know, you can have, you know, I want to say drinks, but you know, you can kick it with Mo.
Yeah.
Like that's his personality, that's his energy, and that's the energy you give off. So definitely. So two-part question: what brings you joy, and what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for well, my family, my wife, my children, my family as a whole, not just the Lochner family, but all of my family. It brings me joy. Um, my relationship with God, knowing that I'm free in Him and living in the grace of God, brings me joy. Um, you know, and I'm grateful for genuine people in my life. In my life, genuine people. Someone asked me a question the other day, and it was hard for me, and I felt bad because it was hard for me to actually answer the question. And they were like, well, how many friends do you have who are gospel artists? Name the top 10 friends that you have who are gospel artists. And I was like, oh shoot. Like, I really had to think hard, because what I call friends, I've worked with a lot of people. You know, I've hung out with a lot of people. You know, spent time with these people who were gospel artists. And right now, you know, I call people and my phone may go to the voicemail. I don't call that friends. Because if my friend calls me and I'm not busy, I'm answering the phone.
Yeah.
If people call me and I call you my friend, because guess what? I don't know what my if you're my friend, I'm not sending you the voicemail
Right.
and be like, oh, I'll talk to them later. I don't know, because my friend might be in trouble. My brother might be in trouble. My sister might be in trouble. They may need to hear my voice.
Right.
You know? But when I say friend, I say that means something else to me. That means like, yo, I can call him anytime. I'm talking to him. Even I'll call you my friend, even if I don't speak to you for 3 months. But I know that when we talk, it's almost like we talked yesterday.
Yep.
Not some. I can't call you friend and be like, oh, that's my friend. You know, that's my homie, and we hung out for weeks and weeks at a time. And then when I call, nothing.
Right.
I don't deem that as like friends. I'll be like, you know, we work together or we
Right.
chilled. You know,
Right.
friend.
Right.
It's a whole nother level. So I couldn't even come up with 10 names.
Right.
And they just asked me this random question: can you come up with 10 names of some people that you call your friends that are in the gospel industry? And I was like, whoa, that's tough.
I gotta say the same when it comes down to show business and television and stuff that I do. It's kind of like they're good people. I consider them colleagues, coworkers.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But friendship is far more deeper to me
yeah.
than. And you know what? Even if I'll tell you this too. Even if we are friends, if I consider you my friend in the business, and we just happen to be in business, but if you're my friend, that means the business aside, I'm always coming to you first.
Right,
Like, you know what I mean? There should be nothing that I hear about you that comes out in any blog or any article that comes out that I even respond to publicly on social media. That's a
right,
conversation we're not supposed to have. And if you
right.
tell me good, I don't have to say anything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I'm loyal to like that to a fault. But it's hard because it's so interesting. Like when you grow up in New York City, a lot of times, especially back in the day, not more necessarily now, but back
mm-hmm.
in the day, the artist community was even smaller. So you felt like, like not too many people was doing what I'm doing. So my biggest misconception was that everybody was family coming in. And it wasn't until I got in did I
So you
realize
find out.
that it wasn't that way at all.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that's one thing I can say about working with Tyler, man. I mean, I got some people right now. Like if I call Palmer Williams Floyd from House of Pain, I can call him right now. He'll pick up the phone. You know what I'm saying? Patrice Lovey, I can call her. She'll pick up the phone. Chandra Corelli, Cheryl Pepsi Riley, they'll pick up the phone. Tony Hightower, Tony Grant, they'll pick up the phone. You know, those are like real friends of mine. You know what I'm saying? And because we've impacted each other's lives. You know what I'm saying? So, Tasha Page Lockhart, she'll pick up the phone. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And she one of the hardest working women in show business, as
Right.
far as
Right.
I'm concerned. But there are people who you can call and they'll pick up the phone. And that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? Not like, oh, yo, what's up, man? Because we at an event. And then if I call you 2 weeks later down the line,
Oh, yeah. This is this turned into kitchen table talk. We gotta save this for the kitchen table.
yeah, nah.
No, but truly, listen. I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to celebrate you. I think that
Thank you, man.
I think that your energy and the time that you put into the industry should be acknowledged and celebrated. I think your energy is welcoming and inviting to everyone. I think that our paths finally was able to cross. And
Yeah,
I wish you nothing but the very best. I know that you and your wife have a ministry that you guys are starting to launch. If you want to
yeah,
talk a bit about that,
yeah. It's
do.
called Free Ministries. We come on every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Sunday at 10 a.m. If you want to hear good news, come on Free Ministries Church 82 or come on my live, Maurice Lauchner, on Instagram or on Facebook. Facebook, we're streaming live at 10 a.m. Free Ministries Free Ministries. And we also started streaming on YouTube. So if you type in Free Ministries or type in Maurice Lauchner, you'll be able to connect with us. If you want to hear good news. Good news.
And
Gospel is good news.
I'm also going to have the information locked to this on
Okay.
On my IG page. So for those who didn't catch it, or you don't have a pen handy where you can write it down, if you come back, double back, you'll see the information on this page.
Absolutely.
Morning.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate I'm honored, man. Thank you for having me on and just being able to share, man. I know
thank you.
Instagram be cutting you off in an hour.
I know, right? We'll be in touch, man. I'm sure our paths will cross professionally one day soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, sure. Man. I started my company, man, Lauchner Music Entertainment. So I'm putting some stuff together, man, and doing a concert Father's Day weekend down here.
You already know I got an unscored script.
Yo, okay. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I want to send you some music to that. The music that I was telling you about.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I think I still have some of those clips.
Please, man. But look, it's 9 o'clock. I don't want them to cut us off. That's embarrassing.
All right, brother. All right. Have a blessed one.
You too, my brother. Thank you so much, man. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.